Today, I'm going to give you a lot of helpful tips and advice on not only the common problems that I always find students have when playing two hands together, but I'm also going to give you some recommendations on how to get around those problems. So let's get on to the first topic. The first thing that I find that a lot of students struggle with is that their hands are out of sync. And a solution I have to that is learn and practice some scales very slowly. You want to make the goal of playing the scales both hands together. You want to be making the goal like playing the same note at the same time. It's one of the first things I recommend you do when you're learning how to play both hands together, because if you're starting out trying to learn things with different rhythms between each hand, it's going to make it very, very difficult. So let me show you what I mean by learning your scales. Okay, so the goal is that first of all, you want to start obviously with the key of C, because it has no sharps, no flats, very easy. You want to be able to play the up and down the scale, hands separate, the right hand, and then the left hand. And go very, very slow if you need to. Now, when you put them, by the way, a scale is from one note up to the next note and all the notes in between. So when you are playing them hands together, the only goal you have is syncing up both hands. You really don't want to start playing too fast and have it fall apart on you. Speed is not the goal when learning how to play two hands together. I mean, it is eventually, but when you're first starting out, do not worry about your speed. In fact, the slower you can go, I think the better. So if you're just going slowly is really what you want to aim for with this. Just like that. And then you want to go through and learn all your scales at least one octave. And all that means is that I'm going up from one note, one C to the next C, and then coming right down. 2 octaves would be if I went up to the next C, and then I just kept going. Like that. But you want to start out with 1 octave. All right, let's get on to the next topic. Okay, one of the other things that I really find a lot of my students talk about with two-handed piano playing and the struggles they have is that their brain or hands just have trouble keeping up. Like they tell me, and I had this trouble. I kind of know what they're talking about. So they're playing along and they're playing and it's like they just can't process the information fast enough. And you're going to find a recurring theme tonight, which is slow down. Like I said, there's no extra points for going fast, at least not in the beginning. But let's go back to the slide here. So one thing other than slowing down is I also recommend learning a section hands separate. It's just the same thing I mentioned with the scales, just in terms of real music. And then once you feel comfortable playing the section hands separate, then you want to put them together. And then how do you want to put them together really fast? No, you want to put them together very, very slow. That's the theme of tonight. And the slower you can go, the more your brain will be able to, or the better your brain will be able to process the information. Because a lot of times, even if as you're reading music, I know with a lot of students first learning how to read music as well, that they can't really read music very fast because they're new to it and they really have to, spend a little bit more brain power figuring out each individual note. But once you get it, you are able to go faster, but you just can't do it at first. So a lot of the mistakes that I find that students make with this is that obviously they're playing too fast. All right, let's get on to the next topic. One of the other problems I come across is that you can play the same notes and same rhythms without any trouble, but when they are different, you struggle. So this is what I mentioned in the beginning, where you don't want to be playing pieces in the beginning that have different rhythms and different notes going on at the same time. When you're first learning the basic coordination between hands, you really can't be concentrating on that sort of thing unless you're especially gifted. So going back here, try learning some pieces. My solution for this one is try to learn some pieces that involve playing simple chords in the left hand and melody in the right hand. This is called like an accompaniment style, where you just have something very basic in your one hand and then the melody in the other. Playing pieces with multiple melodies is extremely difficult for beginners. So this is things like a lot of Bach pieces. even the minuet in C, or the minuet in G, sorry, that we've covered here on the channel, that one's a bit too difficult if you're first learning how to play both hands together. I recommend actually learning some examples out of Carl Czerny's School of Velocity. So let me quickly, I actually have a link provided for you in the description. Let's take a quick look at it. Okay, one of the reasons I recommend this collection of exercises is that it's exactly what I'm talking about. You have a chord in the left hand, and then you have a string of notes, which is basically a C major scale, in the right hand. Oops. And then it just keeps going. So it's a very good exercise in developing the coordination between two hands while still keeping it manageable. Now, obviously, you're not going to play it as fast as I just did. You might start out, especially if you don't know your scales yet, you're going to have to, really slow it down. I recommend actually learning your scales before tackling this. At least you're at the first, 5 major scales or so. But like I said, I'm going to put a link to that in the description if you are interested. All right, let's get on to the next topic of the lesson. Okay, another problem is that I find a lot of students, they just don't know where to start when solving their problems playing with both hands together. They're like, well, I can, practice the song slower, but, outside of the songs that I'm currently working on, I really don't know what I should be working on that can really help, develop my two-hand coordination. So obviously the Czerny exercises I mentioned, link in the description again, are very good for this. But again, scales is something else I recommend when trying to tackle this issue. You also want to practice, I don't have it written there, but you also want to be practicing perhaps arpeggios. They're common chord patterns found in music where you're playing one of the notes at the time instead of all 3 of the notes in the chord together. And these are very good in developing hand coordination as well, because you have finger crosses and obviously you have to sync up the notes together. They're a little bit further apart than they are with the scale. So I recommend those as well. So your top 3 are scales, then you have arpeggios, and then you have the exercises by Czerny that I had mentioned before. All right, let's get on to the next topic. Okay, one thing I really want to tell you about is that pianolessonsontheweb.com. If you go over there, I have a ton of courses that I've made that can really help you learn a lot more about piano music in a very, organized way. Obviously organized by subject. Now, you can learn about a lot of the things that we learn here on YouTube for beginners, but you can also learn a lot of topics for intermediate and advanced students as well that we, might not never cover here on the YouTube channel, but at least not in the depth that we do here over there on the courses. So I highly recommend you go over there and read about it, see what it can offer you. It has instructional videos, the same style of videos that you see here on the YouTube channel, but it comes with printable sheet music examples, real songs to play. So it really gives you a lot more to really help you fully understand the concept. So head over there. One thing I also want to tell you is that if you go to the Buy Courses page, you can either enroll in courses individually or in course packs. Obviously, in a course pack, you're going to get a pretty good deal compared to purchasing them all individually. And if you, this is a secret, and if you use the code YouTube on checkout, you're going to get additional 15% off any order. So I just wanted to tell you about that, because if you like what you see over here on the YouTube channel, you're really going to like what you see over there at pianolessonsontheweb.com. Okay, everybody, I really hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. If you're interested in learning more, I have a next lesson that I recommend here that I'm going to put in the thing here, whatever you call it. But anyway, there's also going to be a recommended playlist next to that. You also want to subscribe, because we have new videos coming out twice a week, and you don't want to miss those updates. So subscribe and hit that notification bell. So thanks, everybody, once again for coming out. This has been Tim from Lessons on the Web, and I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you so much.